Greetings, Dr. Wolfula here to present a very important special audio presentation that your ears cannot dare unlisten to. Does that make sense? Oh, it doesn't matter. Listen to this.
Welcome to someone's favorite movie. I'm coming to you from the Pod Shack outside beautiful Bay City, Michigan. And my name is Randy, and with me is the man whose literal face looks like a spray-painted William Shatner mask. Believe it or not. I mean, have you ever been told you look like a Michael Myers man?
No, but I'm going to take it as a compliment? Question mark?
You're so creepy. Oh, my gosh. It's Tom Coe from Jake and Tom Conquer the World, my esteemed co-host. We're
Happy Thanksgiving, sir. Let's talk about Halloween now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We're a day late and a dollar short as always. Oh, my Lord.
Always.
As mentioned on the last epi, we're doing Halloween at the dead-ass end of November because that's how we roll, you know?
Well, you know what? You don't want to talk about Halloween when everybody's talking about Halloween. You got to stand out.
You absolutely got to stand out. As mentioned before, I've been very busy. I got married, and now I'm moving all my trash into the house, and oy vey. See, this is where I could side with you on being a full-on streaming and digital guy rather than a physical media person, because I've got all this stack of garbage everywhere. Like, all I would need is, like, 2 hard drives, and I'd be all set. Instead, I got a room full of nonsense.
And everything would be streamlined. You could take it literally everywhere you go.
And I could never I wouldn't have to leave the couch ever. I could just sit there for infinity and have everything at my fingertips.
The future is here, and it is pretty awesome, sir.
Instead, I got to walk away all the way across the room to grab a book. And oh my God, I have to turn pages.
Jesus, what are you going to do? Ride a horse and buggy to work while you're at it?
I'm going to get dysentery on the way there, trolling down the Oregon Trail.
Reading your big old omnibus.
Yeah, exactly. But today we're covering the second part of the Halloweens. We did Halloween 1 and 2. We decided to break them up in chunks because, let's face it, there's a lot of them. And doing an entire full episode would be unwieldy, trying to cover all of them at once.
In my mind's eye, I was picturing us trying to cover all, 60 movies, it seems like?
Yeah.
In one episode. And it was reminding me of that scene in Man on the Moon where Andy Kaufman was reading The Great Gatsby from beginning to end. And by the time, he finishes, there's one person who's left listening and his voice is just so hoarse.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I had pictured.
Part of me really wanted to do like an entire 8-hour episode on all the movies, just a big, massive. But again, that would be so impractical.
Oh, I'm just imagining having to edit something like that.
Oh, geez, it would take me, I don't know, till
You'd
2023.
have to buy a new SD card for that.
I would, right?
Yeah.
Today we're covering Halloween 3, the Season of the Witch, as well as the Thorn Trilogy. We got.
Now, you were saying that this was the first time that you'd have ever watched Halloween 3, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is the first time I watched Halloween 3. I actually discovered by looking up on Amazon because I had bought the DVD. I bought it in 2010 and I still hadn't watched it.
That should tell you a lot.
Yeah, I guess. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch has kind of grown in popularity over the years. It's really become a cult classic.
It has?
Yeah, definitely.
I can see why people like it. It's just fucking goofy.
It's very goofy. I can understand why it's become such a cult classic. I think even at the time it would have been considered somewhat of a cult classic if it didn't have Halloween in the title, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, folks, this is the only one in the series not to feature Michael Myers.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole what was it? Friday the 13th Part 5 without Jason.
Yeah. And let's face it, if you have a series of slasher movies, it's a bad idea to take your main man out of it because that's what people are there for.
Yeah, but I do have to kind of salute the chutzpah of it. It's a hell of a concept. I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for both of us when I'm saying that anthology movies are awesome.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Expanding that concept to feature length, I think, is interesting. And in a way, I still say that the Halloween series is an anthology. It's just the same story told again and again from differing points of view and by different authors. But this is a goofy ass movie.
It is a goofy ass movie. I think the anthology idea for Halloween really would have had legs if maybe they decided to feature a different slasher in every movie or every couple movies. You know what I mean? I think this
maybe every couple movies, but let's face it, even by the time this movie came out, the whole slasher thing was becoming a pretty worn out cliche. So I can understand them wanting to do something completely different.
It was a worn out cliche, but it was still making money, which is the difference between Halloween 3 and another slasher. It didn't really do that great.
No. But I have to admit, this was the first time in 10 years that I had actually sat down and watched it. And I knew about the appreciation that this movie has picked up in recent years. And maybe my expectations for it were too great. But, I walked out of it just kind of feeling meh. It's not bad. It's not bad, but I can see why it didn't find an audience in its time.
I had a fun time with it. I watched it with Pookie, my wife, whom I adore, and she enjoyed it as well. And actually, just the other day, said that she wanted to watch it again because she found it interesting. And I mean,
it's definitely watchable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't bored for 1 second, unlike some of the other movies that we're going to talk about tonight.
Ooh.
It felt like an actual movie, unlike some of the other movies we're going to talk about tonight.
Oh man.
But I don't know. I just don't think that there was enough story to fill an entire feature-length film. And you could also tell that the director didn't have a lot of experience under his belt.
Yeah, I think this would have worked out really well as like a Tales from the Crypt episode.
Yeah, I think it would have been. Yeah.
So
as it is, I don't know. There's just seems to be like passages where there's nothing but exposition.
Yeah. So the idea was that John Carpenter and Deborah Hill thought the Halloween series could be an anthology series. John Carpenter was less than enthusiastic to keep reprising Halloween over and over again, but turning it into an anthology kind of piqued his interest because it would be something different. On the Blu-ray edition of Halloween 3, the producer, Irwin Yablans, said that, quote, "I take no responsibility for Halloween 3. I had nothing to do with it. They just sent me a nice fat check. The decision not to use the Michael Myers character was stupid, really ill-advised. We know now that Michael Myers is the backbone of this whole franchise. Why they decided to leave that, I do not know." Which is a great thing for the producer to say on the Blu-ray when you know the Blu-ray is aimed specifically for fans of this movie. Like, what a shitty thing to say.
I was just thinking that they should have had that as a quote on the back of the box.
Yeah.
I take no responsibility.
Yeah, I just like that big fat paycheck.
Well, I mean, I still think it's a really cool idea. The star of the franchise wasn't going to be Michael Myers. It was going to be Halloween.
Yeah.
It's still a really cool idea, but it just seems like there was a lot of booze and a lot of cocaine flowing around, and it resulted in Season of the Witch.
Yeah. Deborah Hill told Fangoria that the movie was supposed to be a pod movie along the lines of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which you can sort of see.
Yeah. It was also I liked the little subtext about consumerism aimed at kids
Sure.
not being a great thing.
Yeah, there is kind of a theme here, and there is kind of something to dig into, but it's not really explored as deeply as you would hope it would be.
Yeah. I'm going to say something that I almost never say.
Uh-oh.
This is a movie that I think could stand to have a remake.
Ooh, interesting.
Don't call it Halloween. Keep it, just call it Season of the Witch. And maybe, I think there is a good movie buried in here, but you got to really dig at it.
I did see Season of the Witch. It was George Romero's second movie.
Ah, shit.
Gotcha. I'm a nerd.
Well, Season of the Warlock then.
Okay, that's fair.
The main bad guy was a warlock anyway.
Yeah. So this movie is about God, what is this movie about?
Druids trying to kill all of the children in America
just because. Yeah, it's kind of unclear. It's a Tom Atkins stars as an alcoholic doctor. Of course, he's not very good father. Barely has a relationship with his ex-wife.
Just another typical Tom Wilkinson part is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's at the hospital one night when one of his patients is murdered, and the guy that murders him immediately walks out to the parking lot and sets himself on fire. So it's like, oh, what the hell? And then all of a sudden, the guy who was stabbed in the hospital, his hot daughter shows up and is like, we need to investigate this. Tom Atkins is like, yeah, we do, because you're hot. So let's go.
Tom Atkins. I keep fucking that dude's name up.
Yeah, that's fine. And basically, that's it. So it turns out that this company, Silver Shamrock Novelties, is making this line of Halloween masks with this really annoying commercial and really annoying jingle that will be stuck in your head by the time you finish watching this movie.
Yeah, but again, that plays to the subtext of consumerism aimed at kids. There's always been annoying commercials and theme songs associated with children's programming that just burrows its way into your head and you can't get rid of it. Look at Baby Shark.
I'm not criticizing it. I think it's a good touch. It's just, it'll be stuck in your head.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep talking so that I don't start humming it myself.
Well, you just wait. Yeah, I'm gonna send you the soundtrack to this on vinyl, and you can listen to it over and over again.
Oh, happy Christmas to Tom.
Absolutely. So they go to this small town where these masks are being manufactured. Blah blah blah. Conspiracies. A druid man.
Robots.
Stonehenge.
Yeah.
Fucking Stonehenge. So
now, are they grinding up Stonehenge?
They're grinding up Stonehenge. So they're taking chips off of Stonehenge and putting them in these masks. So when the kids put them on and watch the commercial or whatever, I don't know, they die and bugs come out of their heads because the world needs more bugs, I guess.
Wouldn't it be more practical instead of, making chip size Stonehenge devices? Why don't you just have like larger chips that you're shipping all over the world, and then wouldn't you be able to reach more people that way?
Why don't you just fly Stonehenge all across the world like a mighty, mighty eagle and blast all the kids with its Stonehenge powers and turn them all
Exactly.
into a pile of maggots?
No. It wouldn't just be kids. It would be everybody you could take out that way.
Well, fine. Take out everybody. I was just saying the kids, but you're a nihilist and want everyone gone. Great.
Hey, I'm not a nihilist. The druids are.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a subtext where the founder of this company is an ancient druid whose ancestors were the Celtics, and he intends on resurrecting ancient pagan rituals during the age of Samhain, which should be familiar because it was in the second movie, right?
It is. It's also the name of Glenn Danzig's side project.
Yeah. And also, believe it or not, Tomko, it ties into the original Halloween, at least the novelization.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read the beginning of the novelization right now. The horror started on the eve of Samhain in a foggy vale in northern Ireland at the dawn of the Celtic race. And once started, it trod the earth forevermore, wrecking its savagery suddenly, swiftly, and with incredible ferocity. Then, its lust sated, it shrank back into the mist of time for a year, a decade, a generation perhaps. But it slept only and did not die, for it could not be killed. And on the eve before Samhain, it would stir, and if the lust were powerful enough, it would rise to fulfill the curse invoked so many Samhains before. Then the people would bolt their doors. So the novelization gives this supernatural origin to Michael Myers that John Carpenter never freaking intended.
Yeah, but he didn't really do a lot to dissuade it, did he?
No, not at all. No.
Yep. I mean, say what you will about John Carpenter. That's one of those times where he was probably drunk behind the typewriter.
Absolutely. So, I don't know. Tom Atkins and the hot girl have a fling and fall in love, and then she's an android. And at the end, Tom Atkins is trying to stop the evil plot from happening. And he's calling like all the TV networks and telling them to stop running their commercials. Like, how would that possibly work?
I don't know. Maybe using the word please.
Yeah. Please? Could you please? Okay, Tomko, I'll tell you to go ahead and call Fox and tell them not to air any NFL on Fox commercials tonight and see how well that goes for you.
Get me the number. I'm on it.
Yeah.
Now, we are kind of skipping over something big. The whole test run of the Silver Shamrock mask.
Yeah.
With the family of the man that sold more masks than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they bring him and his entire family to the factory for a tour, and then at the very end, they give the kid his own pumpkin mask, and they sit them down to listen to the theme. Little dude's head melts, turns into snakes, and the snakes proceed to feed on mom and dad.
Yeah.
That's fucking metal as hell. Fuck.
Yeah, it's pretty. There are some pretty great effects. There's also that lady that discovers that there's microchips with the Stonehenge chips embedded into the back of the mask, and she's like just picking at it, trying to figure out what it is, and she gets shot in the fucking face with a laser, and bugs crawl out of her destroyed face. I went, whoa.
The dude that had his face destroyed by the android.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, hell, just the android deaths are entertaining.
Yeah.
I'm starting to like this movie more just by talking about it, you know?
It's definitely more graphic and a little bit more gory than the previous Halloweens, at least as far as originality of deaths go. Well,
you know what? I got to give him credit. This is an original movie. I can't say that I've seen another movie quite like it.
Yeah, that's fair. I would agree with that.
I mean, it's still not great, but I think I might have more fun with it the next time I watch it.
Yeah. So it ends with Tom Atkins, as I said, trying to call those TV stations to stop them running the commercials. and two of them agree for some reason.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the more unbelievable parts of the entire movie.
Yeah.
What? You don't want us to play a commercial that we're being paid to broadcast? Okay, stranger.
Yeah, sure thing. But it ends with him screaming because one of the networks didn't pick up, or there's just too many to call, and he's screaming for them to make him stop the commercial, and then it fades to black.
Which, you know what? Kind of a ballsy way to end the movie.
Absolutely.
Where even though the good guys took out the bad guys still won in the end.
Yep. Yeah. In the novelization, in case you were wondering, does say that the children die screaming. So
Happy Halloween, folks.
He failed.
Which really, let's face it, the best scary stories are the ones where the good guys get it in the end.
Yeah. I like that ending quite a bit, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Shit, I'm starting to come around to this movie.
It's a cult classic for a reason.
Yeah. Still not great, but it's fun.
It is fun. Oh, boy.
Speaking of fun movies, we've got Halloween 4. And I remember watching this. It was actually the very first Halloween movie I'd ever seen.
Okay.
I remember my father and I were up at our cabin in Higgins Lake, and we went to the party store, and it was one of the very few times he let me pick out whatever movie I wanted. And of course, I went for the new scary movie, and my father hated it.
Oh.
And to his credit, he insisted that we go the next day, and he got the original Halloween and sat me down and made me watch that. But this movie, I'm going to go ahead and grade it on a curve because I can't separate the nostalgia from the actual movie. Objectively speaking, there is a lot in this movie that is not handled well. You can tell that the screenwriter had less than a week to, finish it from, beginning to end. But it's still a really fun movie to watch. It's still a great 80s slasher movie. It's not going to win any awards, but you know what? It's a great example of a shot in a beer movie where you just take a shot, drink a beer, sit down on the couch, and have fun with everything that's going on.
I had a lot of fun with this one. This is the first time I had seen it.
Ever?
Yeah. This is the first time I had ever seen it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I was thoroughly surprised.
I mean, I'm going to go right out on a limb and say it's one of the better sequels in the series.
Oh, by far. Absolutely. So
the big problem I have with it, watching it as an adult, is it's basically the same movie as the first Halloween.
Sure, of course. I mean, it's like how The Force Awakens...
Well, it's an 80s slasher. Of course it's going to be, ripping its, all the franchises in the 80s were, self-cannibalizing each other.
Well, it's like how The Force Awakens is the same movie as Star Wars. It's like trying to reintroduce the same idea in a different way, kind of.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I think that's actually a really good comparison. It's The Force Awakens of slashers.
Yeah. So this one came about because the Cannon Film Group, the legendary Cannon Film Group, really wanted to capitalize on all the slasher movies making the money. They wanted to make money too, so they offered John Carpenter a deal in '86, hoping that he would deliver some more Halloween to him. John Carpenter was getting kind of pissed off with the studio system, so he decided to go along with it, and they hired novelist Dennis Etchison to write the initial pass of Halloween 4. Dennis had written the novelizations of Halloween 2 and 3, so why not write Halloween 4, the movie? Now, I don't know if you know anything about his version of Halloween 4, but I'm going to briefly tell you what it's about because it's pretty fucking amazing.
Okay, I'm listening.
So this movie would have followed Lindsay Wallace and Tommy Doyle, the two kids that Laurie babysat in the first movie, a little bit older, teenage age. And He decided that the end of this movie would feature Michael Myers in a drive-in theater, and he kills every single person in the drive-in theater.
Wow, that is some impressive stealth on Mike's part.
Right? The police show up because, there's hundreds of people being slaughtered, and they begin shooting Michael Myers. And every time they shoot Michael Myers, he grows more and more until he's like kaiju size. We have Godzilla Michael Myers towering over everybody.
Is he stomping on sorority houses?
He should be. He should be. And part of me wishes that at least one of these movies had the balls to just go, you know what? Mushrooms are cool. Because,
that seems like it'd be a fan project that I can't believe hasn't been released on YouTube yet.
Yeah, man. I
like an animated version or like a cheaply filmed movie that somebody shoots on their iPhone and makes look better in post.
Yeah. I mean, when I read this, I just wanted to see that more than anything. However, Mustafa Akkad, one of the producers, said that this was the wrong idea for the franchise, and he wanted something more along the lines of the original Halloween, Tomko. So you're right.
And did you know that you're going out on a limb if even Mustafa Akkad says, come on, reel it in?
Yeah. John Carpenter was frustrated. He told Fangoria magazine, "This is the nature of business in America. The partners threatened me by saying, if you don't do something with this property, we're going to sue you from preventing us from using an asset. I'd been claiming for years that I wouldn't have anything more to do with the Halloween films, but I would always get suckered in at the last minute. The partners would say, your name will be on it. Everybody will associate with you. Don't you want it to be good? It was like a curse."
It's almost like the curse of Michael Myers.
Almost. It really is. So John Carpenter decided to escape his curse by selling the rights to the franchise. And, Mustafa Akkad could do whatever he wanted with the stupid thing.
You got to wonder just how bitter John Carpenter is at that whole scenario,
I don't think
because it made him some money, but you could tell that he just did not like any of the previous sequels from 3 to at least the second Rob Zombie movie.
Shit, John Carpenter's just chilling, playing video games and making music on his synthesizer. He don't care.
No. I mean, he has been vocal about his distaste for a lot of these sequels.
You do know that about him, right? He's a huge gamer now, which cracks me up.
I've heard that.
That makes me laugh so hard.
Man, just imagine bumping into him on Xbox Live.
Yeah, just John Carpenter playing Call of Duty. Great.
Something tells me that he could easily out-curse me.
I'm sure of it. I have no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. So it's been revealed at the beginning of this movie that Michael Myers has been in a coma for 10 years after Halloween 2, when he was, engulfed in flames and had his eyes shot out. But he's okay, though.
He bounced back.
Yeah, his eyes probably grew back, and it's fine. So he's back at Smith's Grove, and of course he escapes. And of course his former psychiatrist, Samuel Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance again, who also somehow didn't explode in the explosion. That
Never bothered to
everything.
explain it.
No, there's no reason. He's got a few burns on him, so he's been
got
through.
a cane.
Yeah, he's been through the shit. So Michael escapes, and he periodically makes his way to. He ticks off all the boxes. He goes to the gas station. He gets his mechanic's outfit. Then he steals a tow truck, and then he grabs a mask, and blah blah blah. So he's full on Michael Myers. So the deal is he's going back to Haddonfield because that's where he goes. That's where his radar takes him. He's like a bird flying south for the winter. It's the only thing he knows. It's instinct, right? We find out that Laurie Strode had died in a car accident because Jamie Lee Curtis, she didn't want to do this shit no more.
Oh yeah, she had a legitimate career after trading places.
Absolutely.
You know, what are you gonna do? You literally just finished working with John Cleese and Michael Palin and Kevin Kline in an Oscar-winning comedy, and then somebody shows you the script for Halloween 4.
Yeah, at that point there wouldn't be enough money to make you do it.
Mm-hmm.
She
I
was
don't blame her for walking away from that one.
no way. So they introduce Laurie Strode's daughter, Jamie Lloyd, who is also Michael's niece, obviously, and she lives with a foster family and has a foster sister named Rachel. And, Jamie sort of knows about Michael because she sees him in her dreams or nightmares, rather. So that's a thing.
Which makes me wonder who's telling this kid all of these details.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, in the second movie, Jamie Lee Curtis seems to had like psychic repressive powers where forgot she had a brother, then all of a sudden she remembered in a flashback, and that was weird.
And did they ever establish how Michael Myers even knew that this child existed?
No, they had no idea. Like, or were they living in the old Myers house? Was that the thing?
I didn't get the impression that they were.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't either, but I wasn't sure. So
That, and they never explained why he has such a hate on for his own family members.
not in this movie, anyways.
Not in this movie.
Yeah, they try. They certainly try. I like a lot about this movie. Jamie Lloyd is played by young Danielle Harris, who will come back to the franchise, believe it or not. Well,
Several times, actually.
in the immediate sequel and further on down the line in the Rob Zombie movies. In a very different role, I would say.
You know, it just occurred to me that she's been in just one fewer of these movies than Jamie Lee Curtis has.
And did you read why she wasn't in 6? I don't understand why she wasn't in 6.
From what I understand, they just wanted to pay her scale.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess she's in order to do it, she had to, for whatever reason, become legally emancipated from her parents.
Okay.
And the money that she spent in legal fees to do that wasn't as much was like a lot more than what they ended up offering her for the role. So she just walked away.
That's probably fair. It's not a good role to have, and
No.
doesn't do the character any justice. But we'll get there, I guess. So this movie has a lot of effective scenes. Like, I know that it's basically a retread of the original Halloween, but man, it does it right, I think.
Yeah, it has a much more sympathetic protagonist, one who is even more vulnerable than Laurie was. For a child actor of her time, for her age, and let's face it, the production that she was involved in, Danielle Harris does a really, really good job in this movie.
Yeah, there's that really great scene in the grocery or the department store where her sister is meeting her boyfriend or casual dating partner. He of the ridiculous, stupid 80s slasher hair. Like, where do these guys get these haircuts?
Aquanet and Moose.
My God. And she freaks out because she thinks she sees Michael in the store, and it's a really tense scene, but really effective too, I thought.
Well, for some reason, she has PTSD for something that happened before she was born.
I know. And then there's like Halloween Kills kind of references this movie quite a bit because there's a lynch mob that's formed at one point because the townsmen discover that Michael's in town and they don't want that same shit to happen that happened years ago. And that's lifted right from this movie and put into Halloween Kills.
Oh, absolutely it is.
And you can debate back and forth who does it better, but it's I don't know, there's a lot going on. There's also a bunch of dipshits walking around and as Michael Myers imposters. And
Which was originally seen in Halloween 2, actually.
yep. So I had a lot of fun with this.
It is. It's definitely flawed, but its flaws are kind of part of its charm. If you look at it as a time capsule of cinema from the late 80s, go into it just not having your critical eye focused too sharply. You can have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, and you're not gonna you don't watch a slasher movie without realizing there's a lot of flaws in it.
Exactly. I mean,
You already know that. You know what it is. The part of the enjoyment of a slasher movie is because, I mean, this, I suppose I'm going to jump the gun a bit. This is the problem I had with the Rob Zombie movies. Right off the bat, when you start watching it, it's jarring. And the reason it's jarring is because this is going to sound stupid, but it makes sense also. In slasher movies, there's a sort of innocence to them. You know what you're going to get, and they're not that vulgar for vulgarity's sake. I feel like these movies are a lot more innocent than the Rob Zombie movies, if that makes sense.
well, come on. I watched this when I was 11 or 12 for the first time.
Absolutely. And there's no way, I guarantee there's no way your dad would have been okay with you watching the Rob Zombie one at 12 without turning it off.
I'd like to say you're right, but I'm also the kid that was 10 years old sitting in the movie theater next to my old man watching Full Metal Jacket.
Again.
Granted, that's a different caliber of film.
Yeah, again, I don't know.
I think he would have just called me stupid for watching it and then walked out of the room.
Yeah. Anyway.
But, this is it's one of the better slasher sequels. Yes, it's a retread, but I still had a lot of fun with it. And I'm going to go against the popular grain and say that I actually enjoyed Halloween 5 as well. Significantly less than Halloween 4, but I think its current reputation is a bit harsh.
I enjoyed 5 too, but we can't talk about 5 without talking about
the ending of Halloween 4.
The amazing ending to Halloween 4. It's probably one of my favorite slasher movie endings ever.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the most memorable I've seen recently. The only thing that comes close to that is a movie that we watched. Well, you watched and you told me to watch, and that was the slasher movie Pieces, Tomko. The ending to that movie is a lot more memorable for a lot different reasons, but
it was certainly a twist.
Yes. Same thing happens here. Are we going to spoil the ending?
For a 30-year-old movie, I think we're good, sir.
Okay. Well, so the ending of the movie, Michael Myers is gunned down and falls down into an abandoned mine shaft. So you think he's done.
The threat has been vanquished.
Yeah. Right before that, Jamie Lloyd kind of feels bad for Michael and walks to him and touches him because she kind of realized that's her uncle. That's like one of the only.
I would say probably the only blood relative that she has on this earth.
Yeah, and so she goes and grabs his hand, and then he wakes up, and the police just take him out. So after that, everything's like done. Good reigned over evil. Loomis is like, that guy went straight back to hell where he belongs. That son of a bitch, he'll burn there forever. In his Donald Pleasance way.
Man, I didn't know that was you, Randy. I thought Donald Pleasance actually stepped into the room.
He inhabited my body for a bit, so I thank him for that cameo. Her adopted mom goes upstairs to run Jamie a bath because, kid's had a rough night. Relax, kid. Mom starts screaming, Oh, Jesus Christ. Mom starts screaming, so Loomis runs up the stairs to see what happens. And this performance from Donald Pleasance is fucking everything. This is what really sells it for me. He sees a blank-faced Jamie holding a pair of bloody scissors and in a clown outfit, and he starts screaming, "No, no!" And he tries to raise his gun to shoot her, and the sheriff stops him, and he falls to the floor crying as the rest of the family just stare. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, I like the fact that Loomis's first instinct is to take her out immediately.
Absolutely, I love that.
And let's face it, can you blame him?
Yeah, I mean, he's been right all along, right?
Mm-hmm.
Director Dwight Little said about the ending that he thought Michael Myers was truly dead at the end of the story. And in the film's commentary, he said that Jamie wasn't necessarily evil due to her bloodline. He said that when Jamie touched her uncle's hand, it caused a transfer of energy and imprinted Michael's rage upon herself. So that's how
that makes about as much sense as anything else in the movie.
Absolutely.
I can roll with that.
So you have this amazing ending, and they could have taken it into an amazing sequel. At least that premise the sky was the limit with that premise. Instead, with Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, they kind of ignore it completely.
You know what? It's not the first time in this trilogy that there's a movie ending with a really interesting twist, and then the next movie picks up and just shits all over it.
Looking at you, H2O and Halloween Resurrection.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, this trilogy in particular, they literally ended the movie and had zero idea where it was going to go after that. They literally just kicked the problem over to the writers of the next movie. And it's not an uncommon thing to do. The writers and Breaking Bad very famously wrote themselves into a corner in order to figure out how they would get out of it.
Right.
The problem is that the writers of Halloween 5 are nowhere near the caliber as the writing team on Breaking Bad, and it shows.
No, yeah. Yeah. I mean, with a promising ending, like an ending that promising, I don't know how you just kind of completely shit on it like they did, but they did. They found a way.
Well, I mean, they did address it where Jamie was not quite institutionalized, but she was definitely affected by the events of the previous movie. She's completely mute. She's, even weirder than she was in Halloween 4. But that's really about all that they talk about. She's still got a relationship with Rachel. She's still the weird kid at school. So, yeah, her arc in that first movie was kind of meaningless.
Oh, not to mention she shares a telepathic link with her psychotic uncle.
Oh, yes, yes.
So
he sees things, she sees them. He pulls on a mask. She mimes the mask donning.
Which I feel like that was done in another movie.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably been done in several movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was done to great effect in the recent movie Malignant, I would say.
Mm-hmm. But, as much as I'm tempted to shit on this movie, the nostalgia is still there for me. It was a fun movie when I was a kid. I can't judge it too harshly because I'm looking at it as just a dumb slasher movie that you sit down and have fun with. And yes, the characters are annoying, especially, I can't remember her name, Rachel's friend.
Yeah,
she's arguably one of the most annoying characters in all of horror.
Rachel's friend Tina basically
Yes.
becomes Jamie's sister to the point where I was like, wait, does she have another stepsister or something? What's going on here?
Well, I mean, they kill off Rachel almost immediately for no reason.
For no reason. Like if you there if you're gonna have this girl Tina basically act like Rachel in the first place, why kill Rachel? It makes no sense.
Not only that, but I mean, I would imagine, had a sizable portion of the audience that was invested in Rachel's character, having watched an entire movie with her, and they just kill her off in like the first 10 minutes of the, following film. I could see where that would piss people off.
Sure. This one we get into the supernatural a little bit more. We have Michael Myers. At the beginning of the movie shows Michael falling down into the abandoned mine shaft, and it shows the mob after they had shot him throw dynamite down the shaft, and somehow that resourceful son of a bitch manages to squeak out through a hole or a drain pipe and into a nearby creek, and some old hermit that lives in the woods finds him and nurses him back to health as he falls into a coma yet again, which is Michael Myers' special move.
Well, he's, hibernating. It's not a coma.
It's got to be, right? So
a
year
he's
later,
conserving his energy while he rebuilds.
Year later on Devil's Night, he wakes up again and kills the hermit, which is just poor. I mean,
yeah, that's got to go against some kind of etiquette handbook guide.
I mean, just leave him a negative Yelp review.
Exactly.
You didn't have to do that. That's not being a great house guest, I would say.
Not mine guest.
Sure, that's fair. But we see in this scene briefly that Michael Myers has a weird tattoo on his hand, which will come back later because, ugh.
Honestly, the worst thing that I can say about this movie is that it's a by the numbers cookie cutter 80s slasher. I don't think it's so bad that it deserves the reputation that it has. This movie routinely gets shit on as one of the worst sequels, and no, it's not even close to Halloween Resurrection quality.
No. Again, this is the first time I saw this one because apparently I saw no Halloween movies my entire life.
I guess. Wow.
I know. I think I saw Halloween 2, and H2O first. So
not a bad roadmap to follow.
And then Resurrection. So that's where it all went wrong.
But I mean, what are your opinions of this movie, sir? Especially since this is the first time you've watched it.
It was the first time I watched it, and I had a good time with it. At this point, I'm really well versed in slasher movies. I've spent most of the last 2 years watching the majority of the things I've watched have been slasher movies or horror. And you're right. It's by far, it's not one of the. There's a lot worse that you could do than this movie.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, I'm grading it on a curve, but it's still a fun time if you don't take it too seriously. It's like there are people who will critique the ever-living fuck out of these movies, and they're just not built for that. This isn't Silence of the Lambs or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's just a cash grab that was pumped out 1 year after the previous installment. They didn't put a lot of thought into it. They weren't expecting you to.
Yeah. Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd is good in this again. Donald Pleasance is always good.
Yes, those two definitely carried the movie.
I enjoyed much of the final confrontation between Jamie and Michael Myers, where she kind of appeals to the fact that they're related, and she calls him uncle, and he actually takes off his mask, and she touches his face, and he loses his shit about it. And I was like, that's a really good moment, actually.
Yeah.
You see for the first time, you kind of see a sympathetic sort of, I don't know, human side to Michael
I was
Myers.
That's the exact word I was going to use. I would say up until that first Rob Zombie movie, this was the closest he's been to an actual living, breathing human, as opposed to just this unthinking, unmerciful force of evil that he is the rest of the time.
Yeah, he's never had a character. He's never had a personality. It's just been, he's been a shark the whole time. This is the first, and I appreciated that.
I kind of want to go right to the ending because, again, this is just a generic movie, but the thing that I always remembered about this movie through the years was the ending. When I was a kid, I thought that was just an amazing way to send the audience off.
Oh,
It was an interesting little cliffhanger that I thought at the time. This random man in black just steps off of a bus, calmly walks into a police station like he's the goddamn T-800, lays waste to everybody, and frees Michael. Oh, and it turns out he has a matching tattoo on the inside of his wrist.
Yep.
Which means, obviously, he's connected to Michael. Probably some kind of cult or supernatural aspect is involved. Where is this going? And it turns out it went straight into a fucking brick wall.
That's what it did. Head-on collision.
Mm-hmm.
I will say I also like the fact that Loomis goes absolutely apeshit in this movie, and
yes, where he's using Jamie as human bait, and he's trying to brain Michael with fucking wooden beams and chains, and ends up stroking out as a result.
Yeah, the most unlikely action hero there ever was, Donald Pleasance.
But oddly relatable.
Yeah.
For all you portly, balding men with a limp, this is your guy.
This is him. You could beat a man senseless with a board, too.
Dare to dream, people.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan did it for years, so. Like Tomko said, the movie ends with some man laying waste to an entire police station and taking Michael. And Jamie runs into the police station to find out what's going on in there. And she sees that Michael's jail cell is empty, and she just starts sobbing, much the same way that Donald Pleasance did in the ending to the last movie.
Mm-hmm. They were probably thinking they were being all arty by bringing it full circle.
Right. Which brings us to Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, alternatively known as originally Halloween 666, the origin of Michael Myers. Oh, by the way, I really want to say this. The working title for Halloween 5 was Halloween 5 and Things That Go Bump in the Night, which would have been a title.
Yeah, that certainly is a title.
Yeah. Halloween 5 was the lowest grossing installment in the franchise, a claim to fame that it still holds. Nonetheless, we still got Halloween 6. And as Halloween 6 came around, Mustafa Akkad and John Carpenter entered into a bidding war for the rights to Halloween. John Carpenter had an interest again. Did you hear what John Carpenter wanted to do with Halloween 6?
Is this the one where he wanted to put him in space?
It is the one where he wanted to put him in space.
It's almost like he wanted to kill the franchise.
Yep. However, all he did was inspire Leprechaun and Friday the 13th.
God damn you, John Carpenter.
See what you've done. Also, did you know that Quentin Tarantino had a little pass at a script for Halloween 6?
Yes, it was a road film with Michael and the Man on Black going across country killing random people. Which, if that sounds familiar to you in the context of Quentin Tarantino, it's basically the same thing as Natural Born Killers.
Absolutely. He basically turned that into Natural Born Killers. Man, that
shit. One little bit of trivia that I completely forgot to talk about with Halloween 4. One of the greatest guitarists of all time was inspired directly by that movie.
Oh?
Yes, a young boy named Brian saw that at the theater, and he thought that Michael Myers was the coolest looking guy out there. So he went to a Halloween store and asked the person behind the counter if they have any Michael Myers masks. Sadly, they didn't. They only had a white face mask that was worn with a drawstring, like an elastic drawstring at the back of your head. Well, in order to fully encase himself, he decided to also top it with a bucket. Hence the birth of Buckethead.
Yeah. He never got to be Michael Myers, but he did get to play Leatherface in a never-seen movie. So good for him.
Good enough. You know what?
Yeah.
He's Buckethead. He can do it.
Absolutely. Close enough.
Motherfucker can shred.
Man, I really want to see that Quentin Tarantino Halloween movie.
I just want to read the treatment.
Yeah, or that. I mean, Quentin Tarantino's always flirted around popular culture like this. There was a time where I think he was approached for a Friday the 13th movie, and he was fucking around with an idea for a Star Trek movie, which would have been, God, insane.
I would watch the fuck out of any of those movies.
Absolutely. And the movie that he was proposing that more or less became Natural Born Killers, man, I would have loved to seen that instead of this.
I'm pretty sure Tarantino would have preferred you to have seen, the original version of Natural Born Killers than this.
Yes.
Yes,
one I have seen
he very
before.
famously hates that movie.
Yeah. This one I have seen before. Pieces, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. And even though I knew what the hell was going on, I still didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah, but that was fun. I could have fun with that. I was not bored with that movie. Halloween 6 is barely... They used a lot of Scotch tape and popsicle sticks to keep that script together.
Yeah.
And the cracks are just gaping.
Yeah. This was distributed by Dimension Films. And it looks like it's by far the worst looking Halloween movie. It looks like it was shot by some amateur. It looks bad. That's the first thing I noticed. Even the 80s slashers in the Halloween series looked so much better film-wise than this one did. This looks like it was shot on home video. It was so bad.
Well, I also remember waiting for years to see this movie because I want to say it was 1990 when Halloween 5 came out, and it was 5 years, which from the age of 12 to 17, 5 years is a long fucking time to wait. And then they gave us this straight to video, just an abortion of a film. Because let's face it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's insulting to its audience. It's insulting to its characters. I have a hard time distinguishing what the worst sequel is in this franchise, but this has at least got to be in the top 3.
Oh, it's this one. I think it's this one.
Oh, I don't know. Resurrection's really bad.
Resurrection's really bad, but this one's like so...
That second Rob Zombie movie's really bad.
Yeah, but this one's...
And pretentious.
This one's so misguided. Like, I can't... So this movie, it's revealed that Jamie Lloyd was abducted along with Michael Myers from that police station. And we see her 6 years later. She's a teen. And she gives birth to a child. And the midwife helps Jamie escape with her child, and Michael kills her. And
yeah,
it's strongly hinted at that Michael is the father of this child, which is just, ugh.
I don't know. I mean, to me, it just does such a disservice to that character that a lot of people really enjoyed, and they just threw her away.
Yeah, after watching the first 2 movies and seeing her completely inept in this one right off the bat, and she just is dispatched with no thought whatsoever, which is a thing they'll do again in a movie called Halloween Resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so ridiculous. And then the whole child subplot, it's like, oh yeah, because Michael Myers has sex now, apparently. That's something everybody needed in their lives.
Well, at least he's got the mask on, so you don't have to look at the O face.
I mean, some people get off on leather masks, right? Who are we to judge?
You know what? I'm just saying, there's silver linings to be found here, folks.
Yeah. So, Donald Pleasance is back as Sam Loomis in this movie. It's his final film role, and it is kind of painful to watch, I think.
Yeah, you could tell that his health was failing him. Well, shit, there's another guy that, was kind of betrayed because from what I understand, the script that he read was nothing like the script that was filmed.
I'm not shocked by that.
And I don't know. I felt bad for Donald Pleasance in this movie on several levels.
It's especially jarring when I watched like the entire Thorn trilogy in a weekend, and it's especially jarring to see the physical aging of Donald Pleasance during that time.
Yeah, that was a rough 5 years for the guy.
Yeah, so it hit me even hard how painful that actually was.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like, he's going out on top with a badass role,
No.
That would be fitting. This is just poor guy.
The one good thing this movie gave the world is one, Paul Stephen Rudd, introducing Paul Stephen Rudd.
Hey. You're talking about the sexiest man alive, sir.
I mean,
show some respect.
His skin in this movie, I would have French kissed him. What a fine looking young man. Flawless skin. How does he do it? I don't know. It's amazing to me that his character in this movie. So this movie came out the same year as Clueless. His character in this movie and his performance have no life or charisma to it whatsoever. However, in Clueless, he's just exuding charisma.
That should tell you exactly why the right director on a movie is important.
Absolutely.
They need to be able to get those performances out of their actors. This person, I'm assuming it's a guy, but I don't want to make a judgment call. This person was clueless.
Yeah, it was directed by Joe Chappelle.
Well, I won't hold that against him.
Yeah, he's oh no.
Oh? What else has Joey done?
He worked on, I don't know, a little show that a lot of people think is the best series ever created, a little show called The Wire. So, what the hell? I guess everybody's got to start somewhere, right?
You know what? He had the support of a really good writer's room and a phenomenal showrunner on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. But good for him for turning the nose up before his career completely crashed, I guess.
Now, do we want to talk about the fact that there are not three versions of this movie?
Yeah, I think we should.
If you're listening to this, you know that there's the producer's cut, and for years and years and years, that was commonly found at the bootleg videos section of your favorite Comic-Con. A friend of mine who listens to this show, Mr. Swanson, he had a copy of it, and I remember he sold it on eBay for quite a tidy little profit.
Nice.
And this was the first time that I had actually sat down and watched the producer's cut, and except for the very ending, I am having there are two big differences: the ending, and you actually have Jamie's character for a little while longer, but she is just as useless to the story the second time around as she was in the theatrical release.
Yeah,
I mean, she basically just goes to the hospital, just like Laurie did in the second movie. And instead of actually waking up in time to fight back, she's just killed in her sleep.
Oh, man. That might be even worse. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a giant shit sandwich, no matter which way you slice it.
Yeah. It's none of it's good. I appreciate they tried to have some sort of origin or motivation for the character of Michael Myers, but ultimately, who cares?
Yeah. And honestly, these last two movies in particular really kind of hammered home an aspect of the character that I just cannot stand. I think it's idiotic to have this character associated with the cult too strongly. To have him a supernatural being, I think takes away what's scary about the character. To me, why that character is effective is it's just a random person that snaps. It could be the boy next door. And by involving him in the supernatural, it it makes it feel a lot less realistic. Does any of that make sense?
It does. It's a lot scarier when it's just some random force of evil that sweeps into your life like a tidal wave.
Well, yeah, I mean, what let's face it, what's going to chill you to the bone reading on CNN? This inept cult is, involving incest and a inbred serial killer, or this kid just snaps and does horrible things.
Yeah,
And let's face it, we've all lived through news stories very similar to each of those. I know which one I find more disturbing.
yeah. And as far as the fact that he can survive anything, you know what a good explanation for that is? No explanation. You don't need to.
Well, I mean, it's one of the problems that I have even with the original Halloween 2, in that I don't like the idea that this is a tank of a man that you can't put down.
Right. Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes there doesn't need to be an origin for these characters. Because a lot of times whatever you make up in your own head is a lot more entertaining than anything that a writer can put up on the screen. I don't know, it just does not work trying to over explain this character.
I mean, you can, to get real geeky, you can take the character of Wolverine from the X-Men.
Yes, a perfect example.
Lot more interesting without an origin. What's this guy about? Where does he come from? I don't know. That's why he's so interesting.
Hmm.
Then when you peel back the curtain and realize that he was a little scrawny kid named James, it kind of destroys that a little bit.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know. I'm of the mind that some things don't need hard answers, especially when it comes to a movie or
Yes, let's face it, this is a brain dead, trilogy. You're not supposed to think, you're not supposed to ask questions, let alone demand that they have answers.
yeah, at the end of the day, you're not going to get wrapped up in the mythology of Halloween. That's not why people watch these movies.
No.
It's escapism, it's entertainment. Uh, there's some, I don't know, simple is better in most cases,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to slashers.
Yeah. You don't want to have too many hands in the pot because it's just gonna end up ruining everything.
Yeah. Um,
But can you understand why this was kind of considered to be a franchise killer?
Absolutely, it's the worst. It's so bad.
And I guess they were gonna try to continue with it with this storyline. I don't see how.
Yeah, that would have been that would have really drove the nail into the coffin, I think.
Hmm. No. I'm glad that they just decided to wipe the slate clean, because let's face it, this was the kindest thing I can say about it is that it was just a very silly movie.
Yeah. One little anecdote, one little factoid. There's a talk show host in this movie named Barry Sims, and the writers and producers wanted Howard Stern to play that character, and he declined. So,
From what I understand, he didn't decline it because it was a shitty movie. He declined because he just didn't have the time in his schedule.
that would make sense, because this would be around the time that Private Parts was in production, I would think.
Yeah, this was pretty much peak Stern.
Yeah,
if I'm remembering
this
right.
was the height of the outrage.
Yes.
Say. In fact, we might have to cover Private Parts one day.
Oh, yeah, that was a great movie.
Yeah,
way better movie than it had any right to ever expect to be. I think we do have to talk about that. Add it to the list, sir.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers?
Avoid it.
Avoid it.
Avoid it like the goddamn Rona. Definitely keep, Halloween 4, on your shelf. Halloween 5, it's fun. I don't know if I will ever watch Halloween 6 sober.
That's a great blurb. Halloween 6, keep your social distance. 6 feet away, please.
What about you, sir? Any parting thoughts on the Thorn Trilogy?
The Thorn Trilogy. I feel like the Thorn Trilogy is only called the Thorn Trilogy based on this movie, which tries to tie everything together. And this movie is the goddamn worst. Paul Rudd, one of the most marketable movie stars of the last 20 years, is awful in this. Everybody's
no
bad
charisma
in this.
Whatsoever.
Donald Pleasance is not good in this. I can't blame him. He was in failing health, but also the material wasn't fucking there.
No.
There not a whole lot of good points in this movie to even hang your hat on. It's really bad.
Yeah, well, yeah. This is the movie with... Doesn't he, bleed green ooze from his eyes at one point? Michael Myers does?
I don't remember. But it wouldn't surprise me, because supernatural. Scary. Ooh.
No, just avoid this movie at all costs. It's awful.
Avoid this movie. See Halloween 4. It's one of the best sequels you could find. Halloween 5, in my opinion, ain't bad either. And Halloween 3 is completely different. And if you're a fan of this show, this podcast, you would probably dig Halloween 3, I dare say.
I think so. Oh, well, hell, even I turned around on it.
Yeah.
In real time.
Is convince you. That's one of my greatest feats ever is during live stream for The Cure this year, when you and I and Dr. Wolfula somehow turned Nick, the former Epic Film guy, around on a movie. Who ever thought that could happen?
That almost never happens.
Nope. Oh, I was so proud of that moment.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's something that we can hang our hat on, sir.
Yep. And I think I turned you around on Halloween 3, so it's probably your favorite movie of all time now.
All right, sir. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. Where can the good folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at mretailslave. You can find me on a big dumb comedy show called Miserable Retail Slave, which is also coming back. And you can check me out on a Seinfeld rewatch podcast called That's a Shame with my friend Maddie F. Sir, how about you?
Oh, you can find me on a little show called Jake and Tom Conquer the World, in which we talk about everything from movies, comic books, television, to our favorite booze that we're drinking this week. You can listen to us pretty much anywhere you'll be able to find a podcast, whether it's Apple Podcast, TuneIn Radio, Amazon. We're there. If you want to reach out to us, I'm on Twitter at The Drunken Dork and at Facebook over at Jake and Tom Conquer the Group.
If you liked what you listened to, please tell a friend. All those movie friends, movie geeks, movie bums.
And better yet, if you enjoyed what you're listening to, give us some suggestions as far as what movies you want us to cover.
Absolutely. As far as next time goes, we're chugging along in this Halloween series. We're doing Halloween H2O and Halloween Resurrection, to be followed by the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. And finally, the most recent Halloween and Halloween Kills. After that, hopefully we'll have some time to do some holiday stuff. I have some stuff in mind, but if we don't get to it, too bad. So sad, I guess,
You know what? If you don't like it, listeners, we'll give you a refund.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time. Please tune in. Bye-bye.
See ya.